Welcome to Gifted Underachievers with James Buchanan and Pat Doby. Today, Pat and James are talking about creative work, goal setting, and the real world. We'll start with James, who's a successful ghostwriter ready to move on to the next step.
My goal that I have set is to generally be considered among the top 20 ghostwriters in the US by the metrics of quality of writing, quality of clients, and money earned.
Yeah.
And so part of that is realizing that my usual pipelines for new work aren't really getting me the kind of clients that I need to be able to achieve that goal. So I decided to go directly to agents, and I'm going to begin reaching out to publishers probably next week. And I've done this before with agents, limited success. But anyway, so I sent an email to an agent who specifically handles ghostwriters.
Yeah.
And, I sent my query since it elicited a response at any rate. So here's the email that I've been sending out to agents, publishers, anybody who I feel like could open a door or give a hand up. I begin with my name, James Buchanan, that I'm a ghostwriter and developmental editor based in the US near Boston with nearly 30 years of professional experience. I'm writing with the hope that you may have authors with the need of an experienced and talented ghostwriter or developmental editor. I began my writing career as a journalist, winning numerous awards covering state, New Hampshire, and national politics, and interviewing 2 U.S. presidents, 3 vice presidents, numerous administration officials, U.S. senators, House members, presidential candidates, a state Supreme Court impeachment, etc. After I decided to leave journalism, I worked with U.S. Senator Maggie Hassan managing her first political campaign, which connected me with an acquisitions editor at the MIT Press. This then led to my first ghostwriting engagement with the founder of Sun Microsystems and a member of the MIT Sloan School of Management, with whom I drafted a manuscript exploring the intersection of internet architecture and governance. Since then, I've worked with leaders in medical research, including a Nobel laureate and woman shortlisted to be Biden's head of FDA, international business leaders from companies such as SAP and Capgemini, and those with compelling personal stories to craft memoirs and creative nonfiction manuscripts. Of this latter group, my recent manuscripts are with a successful entrepreneur who escaped the Congo as a child after the murder of his father by Kabila, and a disabled transgender person telling his story of rising from an abusive blue-collar home to coming out to find personal and professional success even as he is dying. My books have won multiple awards, strong reviews. I am quite good at drafting book proposals, and I can provide multiple references from my clients. I am currently feeling stuck in the middle rungs of the ghostwriting ladder. I know I am a very good writer, and I have many, many successes I am proud of. But I'm very hungry to grow as a ghostwriter. I believe that working with you could offer the opportunity to break through in a rather significant way. I then go on to mention that I've attached 2 writing samples, my resume, publication list, and I encourage them to visit my website, orchardwriting.com, where I talk about a talk that I gave to Creative Mornings on creativity and my process as a ghostwriter. And then a short story that I have published at the Nomadic Journal titled Hillary and Walt Sachs. And then, closing, just thanking them for considering my query. The response from the agent was, "Dear James, thanks for contacting me about ghostwriting. I regret to say that currently we're not taking on any new clients. Nowadays, there seem to be far more writers available than there are projects to be filled, so everything is becoming extremely competitive. And I only work with writers, collaborators who have already ghosted several books for the big 5. I don't want to fill you with false hope when I rather doubt that I can find you work. But I would encourage you to contact as many different agents, editors as possible. I think you have a good resume, but it's just so damn competitive out there now, as I'm sure you know, that I fear I would disappoint you in what has been turned into a beauty contest by agents and editors. Kind regard." Right? So there's a little depressing, a lot overwhelming. But I think sort of a complicated thing to analyze. But anyway, so I sent out to another agent, big time New York, top of the top kind of guy. And he writes back very quickly, thanks, and certainly glad to keep your name in mind. Exclamation point. All the best, right? So that's good. That's like, all right, so it's not quite the trauma, that I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then I get this one from an agent who, again, very well respected, somebody who I like quite a bit. And he says, thank you, really, for your email. While I don't have a project at the moment, the ghostwriter issue comes up a fair amount in considering manuscripts that we received, and I'm very glad you've reached out to us. I'm going to circulate your inquiry through the agency. I hope we'll be in touch sooner rather than later. Best regards.
Fantastic.
Right? Fantastic. And then the topper received just yesterday was
Okay.
from yet another agent. And again, very good, top of the top agency. Thank you for reaching out. We'll take a look at your samples. I included sample pieces. In the meantime, can you please tell us what your fees would be for a dark science fiction manuscript of about 95,000 words?
Yeah.
And how would you estimate your fees? Best regards.
Yeah.
So a huge mix of responses. And
Across the board. And did you think that last response, they're asking about your ghostwriting fees for that? Or are they asking about your developmental editing fees for that? Because you do both.
I don't know. And I sent back, that was part of my response to them
Yeah.
was, well, for developmental editing, here's what I would charge. To start from scratch with an author, to write a manuscript, do all the development they have to do and everything like that. Here's what I would charge for
Okay.
that
Yeah.
book. And I haven't heard back, and I always set up, I'll give them a few days because everybody's really busy. But I also know, because I used to be an editor of magazines, you get a lot of stuff from writers and you think, oh, this could be really good.
Yeah.
I want to follow up on this, but I've got this meeting, I've got to do this and this and this and this before I can follow up. And then you just get to the bottom of the pile and you fully intend to do it.
Yeah.
But it kind of gets forgotten. And so that's how I learned that doing the right kind of follow-up at the right time can be really, really critical, because if somebody expresses interest and then they kind of disappear, more than likely it's because they've got 20 other things. And just for whatever reason got forgotten. So you got to send them that reminder and get that ball rolling again. So
yeah. And the right time would be a few days after their positive response to your first note?
Yeah, I give them, so I got this yesterday, or responded yesterday. So I'm gonna get back to them Monday morning.
Oh, okay.
And,
So Thursday, Friday, so 3 working days basically.
it kind of depends though on certain things. So if there's a lot, say like I'm sending out a full manuscript agent because I want them to represent the manuscript.
Yeah.
Then well, one, you're not supposed to follow up in that instance. But say the person, I've sent a query, they ask for the full manuscript, and I send it to them. Then I'm going to give them at least 2 weeks because that's going to take a little while.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first one, it was overwhelming, and one of those ones that I think all creatives, you get these emails where you have a moment of rethinking your career choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think, I'm just not in a position where I'm going to achieve the goals that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
I don't have I didn't go to the elite college. I don't, have a network of decision makers, these upper middle class decision makers. And what you feel like is that these other people with all of those resources and privileges are very capable of pulling the ladder up behind them.
Yeah.
And so you get overwhelmed in trying to figure out, how do I, what do I do now? Because there's no ladder up. And then you send out to more agents and you do more work and you put more effort into it.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that discouraged. And you start to find out, oh, okay, I am building a career.
Yeah.
and I am doing stuff,
Mhm.
and it's meaningful,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it will come around.
It's quite
So
amazing to me. So that first one was really all about I found so she's only representing people who've ghosted several books for the Big Five. That in itself is a whole thing to unpack, because the Big Five require agents. You have to be, if you are getting a book uh ghosted, there was no mention from what I remember of New York Times bestsellers. It was more like there had just has to be this kind of ability to access the Big Five publishers, which are multinational conglomerates based, a lot of them in Europe, and thousands of books coming out a year, dozens of imprints. So it's such a, I understand it because there's more kind of, distribution power behind the Big Five and so on, but it's got almost nothing to do with your ability. And then I found the phrase beauty contest by agents and editors so
mhm.
interesting because a
Yeah,
beauty contest judges beauty. Um, but what does that mean in the context of a ghostwriter?
yeah.
I don't get
Well,
it. I don't actually get it.
well, yeah, you could say, I wasn't sexy enough, and
What what
it's
is beauty just a big price tag? Because I get agents, they're getting a percentage. So of course, if you're charging 100 grand to ghostwrite somebody's book, and the people, whatever people that she's working with are charging 250,000, yes, it makes financial sense to represent those people because 20% of 250,000 is more.
yeah.
But the other part is is that what the beauty is? Is beauty the financial aspect, or is there anything else,
I think it's both, right? So, it's definitely financial, but financial follows somebody who has, and we talk about it in publishing as a platform.
Hmm.
It's like, how famous are you,
Yeah,
right?
for the writer,
So,
yeah.
and so that, you can boil that down to yet again facing this chicken or the egg
Hmm.
scenario. So, when you start as a writer, everybody wants you to have already published a book before they will publish your first book, right?
Yeah,
So how do you
yeah,
do that? Nobody's gonna open the front door for you. And so now I'm in the middle rung of the ladder, trying to figure out my way to get up. I've set this goal. I want to be, amongst the 20 best, in
yeah.
the country. So now I've got another situation where she is very honestly, and I give her, I don't, think badly of this agent whatsoever. I
Neither
think
do
she,
I. I appreciated her honesty. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
Hmm.
But she is saying to me, the sad part of this is to get to that next level where, the famous actor or the famous this or famous that who wants to write a book and is going to pay $200,000 or $300,000 for it. They want somebody who's already written that book and
Hmm.
got two or three
Yeah,
hundred dollars for it. So how do you break into that?
yeah.
And one way you do that is by going to an Ivy League school.
Hmm.
Uh, then opens up all kinds of professional opportunities that allow you to build a network where, and you see this a lot with journalists
Yeah.
who are able to leverage working at a place like the New York Times, the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, all those kinds of things
Hmm.
into big ghostwriting careers.
Yeah.
And so then how does somebody like me who doesn't have that, how do I break in? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. And
Yeah.
part of it is keep trying and you keep revising what you're doing and all that kind of stuff. But that's what she's looking for. And that's what she's saying is you want to represent people who are going to spend two or $300,000 on a ghostwriter because they're going to get a $500,000 advance from one of these big five publishers because those are the people who have the money
Yeah.
to be able to do that. And these big famous people, that's where they're going to want to publish.
Hey, hope you're enjoying this episode so far. We're going to take a short break now and talk about what we're both working on. If you'd rather skip that, just fast forward 5 minutes and we'll catch you on the other side.
Hey, Pat, let's talk about your new book. It's coming out by Anvil Press. It's called The Tenants. It's really, really good. I love it. And I want to read a little bit of what's been written about it, a little bit of a review. Stark, observational, darkly comic. and deeply human. The Tenants is a view inside the homes of some of Vancouver's most vulnerable inhabitants as their lives intersect and diverge atop its shifting soil. So tell me about it. How'd this come to be?
Well, The Tenants is a 72-hour novel. So you have 72 hours to write a novel. It's from a contest that's in its, I think it's 47th year this year. It started as a barroom challenge in Vancouver. And I've entered it for a few years and I really, really love it because you don't have to edit, you just write. And so, ironically, even though I'm an editor, I don't actually like editing my own work. So, yeah, I wrote it over a 3-day period and it won this contest. And first prize includes publication, a little chunk of money, and all the press you can rustle up.
Yeah. Well, that as the norm, no matter where you publish, you got to kind of do a lot of your own marketing. But
Yeah.
maybe you could. So, what's the heart of this book? What motivated it?
Well, I was thinking a lot about home, what it means to have a home, not have a home. I had just come back from Europe actually, and I had seen this woman who I just used as the main character, but the thing that really struck me was how different Vancouver is from Europe in some ways, particularly in the visibility of the homeless population, the unhoused people, and how difficult it is here, especially in North America, period, I think, to be so far below the poverty line that you can't afford to put a roof over your head. So that was what I was thinking about a lot.
Yeah, and you've got these three characters. One is a gay couple who are trying to save up to afford a home in Vancouver, where obviously housing costs are huge. And then your third character is a homeless woman who's trying to just live her life, just trying to exist, dealing with a raccoon, all the rest. And yeah, it's really good. And so I think everybody should go out and buy it. Is it in bookstores or can they only get it online at anvilpress.com?
They can definitely get it online at anvilpress.com. If it's not actually in stock at a bookstore, you can go to the store and they'll order it for you.
All right. So everybody go out, order this book. It's good stuff. You're going to love it. It's an easy read. It's not huge, but it's very well done.
Thank you so much, James. Now I'm curious about what you're working on.
Well, the thing that I have out that I'd love for everybody to go check out, it's at the Nomadic Journal, which I believe is nomadicjournal.com. And it's a short story titled Hillary and Walt Sachs. It's part of a series of short stories that I'm doing that I sort of describe as examining bourgeois domestic life, which is really like a fancy way of saying I hate suburbs. So it's like suburbia. So please go take a look. It's online, so you don't have to order it. Easy to do. And as with everything, leave comments. Let the publisher know that I've been noticed and people are reading.
I read it. I loved it. And, wondering when I read it, how can you get so much tension in a story about two people having a conversation in a bathroom?
Yeah, well, I don't want to give too much away, but they're worried about the water. And it's the kind of concern where both the parents they don't have a map to navigate by. It's one of those moments in parenting where you got to figure it out for yourself. And they both have their anxieties around doing that, and it's about the two of them wrestling with the reality of something they've discovered about their daughter that's dangerous and scary.
Yeah.
Not over the top. It's something that a lot of kids deal with, and it's just about how they're trying to navigate each other, their relationship, each of their relationships with their daughter, and just being stuck in the bathroom trying to figure out what to do about something that's really scary.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah, I encourage everybody to check out the Nomadic Journal and James's story. And as he said, leave a review.
Yeah, get out there, give some reviews. Let's support each other. This is what this community at Gifted Underachievers is all about. And then the other thing, to any agents, publishers, or others who are listening, I've got 3 projects coming your way from clients. They're awesome. The projects are awesome too. So, if you see that little ping come in that says query in my name, please give it a good read, because I'm sending out some good stuff about good people. So
yeah. Well said. Okay, let's go back to our discussion about goal setting.
Absolutely.
Thank you for reading those responses. So did everybody that you emailed respond?
No, it's like anything with agents, right? If
How
they
many did
have,
you send out?
I've probably sent out 15 so far,
And you got at least 4 responses.
and I've got 4 responses.
That's pretty good. That's a high. That to me is a high return.
Yeah, that's actually, so what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So
Okay.
I've sent out 11. I've got 4, maybe 5 responses.
It's unusually high. Well, you've got a really good query. Your query's got your sort of CV, like summary of your experience, and it's well written and interesting, and you're clear about your goals, which I found super interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wanted it to tell in a very compact way, tell a little bit of a story about me. Here's how I got my start. Here's what I've been doing. Here's where I want to go. I think you're the person to help me get there. It's going to benefit both of us.
Yeah.
So
That's why I think you've got positive responses from 3 out of the 4 who responded. 2 of them were with action. One said they would circulate your materials around the agency, and another one asked you for a quote, basically. But I've been thinking, since you sent me, little updates through the week, starting with that first one, which was so strange, and I agree with you. The honesty was bracing. I'm going to say bracing because I don't know how else to put it. When somebody's bracingly honest about a sort of a systemic barrier, then that can feel like there's not enough lifetimes to surpass that barrier. So it's so great to do more than one query at a time, because then you'll get people who don't have the same sort of, rules, I guess, or the same kind of, it's a word, perspective on the situation. They have a different perspective. So that's great.
Yep. So yeah, and so all of those I can follow up on. So even the person who said, I'll keep you in mind, so thinking about when do you follow up? So like in a month,
Yeah.
I can follow up. And he'd be like, oh yeah, nothing yet, but reminded him that I exist. And so I'm keeping that, alive, basically. The thing that I've learned is all you need is one.
Yeah, totally.
You get, if one of the books becomes a New York Times bestseller, or one of the books is a big enough name author with a big enough fee that sells to one of the big 5. And I've published, I've written books or worked with authors who have accessed the big 5, but what that initial agent is saying is you have to consistently work there. That has to be where you are employed, where you live.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not where I live right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say to you, as we're working through this and we're thinking about being in the middle of the ladder, what are you setting for goals?
If you were here in the studio, you would have seen the look on Pat's face. She doesn't know what she's setting for goals. It's all very vague and unmanageable. Tune in next week to find out what happens on Gifted Underachievers.